Okay, I'm in focus. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back to London. Not sunny London, but welcome back to London. Excuse me. There's no rain today, so that's always a good thing in London if there's no rain. It's been a little while since my last video. The last video, as you know, was in Australia. I'm going to link it here for you guys that haven't seen it. Had some time with the Porsche 997, Porsche. Had some time with the Porsche 997. Not as much time as I wanted, as in not as much driving time as I wanted. As you guys know, I was a little bit ill when I was in Sydney, so the first couple of weeks I was laid up with flu-type symptoms. Yeah, so I didn't get a lot of drives in. I did get some. Got to wash and wax the car once, which was always good. It's always good to wax the car if it's in storage. When you store your car, when I store my 911 in Sydney, the things that I mainly do, which I've mentioned before, but I'll just run through it now. This is kind of a little bit of a Porsche chat today. We're going to call it a Porsche chat, where I just want to chat with you guys and just talk about a few things that are in my mind. Video ideas are not always easy to come by, so sometimes it's just easier to talk to the camera and talk about Porsche. Yeah, so when I put my car in storage, when I store my car for these few months when I'm always in London, the main things that I do, obviously your fuel should be full. You should have a full tank of fuel. That's the number one thing. If you wash your car, you should make sure your brakes are dry, as in you do not let the rust to gather on the brakes. Otherwise, when you go back to start your car after it's been sitting there for months, it'll probably not move because the pads will be stuck to the rotors. So make sure your brakes are dry after you've washed it. I always make sure I do a wash and a wax, like a proper wash and I put another coat of wax on the car. My car has multiple layers of wax. I blame my friend for that. He got me into the whole waxing thing. So my car has a lot of wax on it. I always make sure it's washed and cleaned and waxed, which I did a couple of nights before I left. That's because the Porsche indoor car cover is going over the top of the car. It's best if there's no contaminants. It's best if it's clean. I use specialty products. I don't really talk about the car products I use. I might do another video where I'll just show you the guys the products that I use online. I won't actually go through the process because I don't have the car. Sometimes it's too hard when you're washing. You're just focused on getting it done. But I will actually show you the products that I use. I think they're very good products. Some were recommended to me. Some I found out through internet research. So anyway, the car's washed and waxed. Make sure your brakes are dry, and then make sure that it's on the battery tenderer. Make sure your battery tenderer is working. As I said last time, my battery tenderer trickle charger was not working properly when I left Sydney. So it wasn't connected properly into the cigarette lighter socket. The one I have connects to the C-Tech, so it connects to the cigarette lighter socket. Or you can connect it directly to your battery. For me, it's easier to the cigarette lighter. What else? Yeah, so when it's on the tenderer, cover goes on, and then it's in storage mode, I guess. Luckily, I have friends and family that check on the car when I'm away, so it's all good. Okay, so that was a little bit off track. I wasn't going to talk about that today, but if you store your car, you know what I'm talking about. It's something that you always just need to get done. It has to be done properly, and then you can go away and you feel relaxed. You feel relaxed with the whole process. You know when you go back, your car will start, hopefully. Your car will start and everything will be okay. And also when I first get back to Sydney, to the Porsche, I always give it a rinse over. I give it a wash. Just a quick wash. A quick wash. It's normally not that dirty because of the cover. The cover has to get washed obviously each time. But the car, I give it a quick wash and dry, and that's about it. And then I try to use the tank of fuel as quickly as possible. I don't know if that's just in my head, but I like to get rid of the fuel. The fuel's been sitting in the car for 3 months. I like to just use the fuel up as quickly as possible. Okay, so that's part one of the vlog. Part one of the vlog is over. Let me just get a drink and I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, I seem to be too far away today. I'm using a different position, as you can tell. This is Natasha's desk. Where my seating position is over there. So a little bit different from previous things. There's a nice little shelf in the background. I thought it'd be a nice backdrop for this video. Yeah, so what am I trying to say? The driving that I did in Sydney was not purely fun driving, let me say it, with the Porsche. It wasn't driving that you enjoy. It's driving in traffic, which makes me think that the purpose of today's video was the Porsche 997 or the Porsche 911. Well, let's say the 997 is not really a daily driver. Now, some of you are going to be jumping up and down with me saying this, I know that, but I didn't buy the 911 to drive it daily. I didn't buy the 911 to drive it to work. I didn't buy it to go and pick up the milk. I didn't buy it for all those reasons that you usually buy a car. I didn't buy it to transport people around or pick people up from the airport. Obviously that's not possible because of the luggage space, but I didn't buy that car because of that. My previous car was an Audi A4 Avant S-Line. It was a wagon, okay? Avant is a wagon, it's a estate, US, I don't know if you have it in the US, but it's a wagon, okay? So I had plenty of room. At the time, I needed a car for my business that I had. I needed a car with space to carry things, hence why I had that car. And I had that car for a long time. I didn't bother to change it. I guess because we were still traveling, and which I still am now, and I got lazy and I didn't think about buying a car. Changing the car, I should say. So buying the Porsche was not about a daily driving experience. But I know there's a lot of you out there, because I have had messages on my Instagram and I've had messages through YouTube about people saying, what's it like to drive in traffic? What's it like to drive on as a daily basis? Well, I don't really drive it on a daily basis, so it's hard for me to cover that. But when I was in Sydney last time, I did. And I had frustrations from it, I have to say. I was frustrated. Sydney traffic, if you live in Sydney, you'll know what I'm talking about. Sydney traffic is getting worse. I think when I come back to London, that London traffic is much better than Sydney traffic. And people will laugh at me, I know, in Sydney when I say that, but I think that London traffic is better than Sydney traffic. And, you know, driving from one part of East London all the way to Heathrow in traffic, I know what the traffic is like in main parts of the day and whatever. So it's scary that Australia's got that bad, that Sydney's got that bad. So, because I was mainly doing short errands from, well, not actually short errands, I was doing errands from the inner city of Sydney to, I guess, the inner west of Sydney. And even closer than the inner west of Sydney. So you're talking about drives of maybe 10 kilometers, 10 to 15 kilometers. The traffic is horrendous. The traffic is horrendous. Now, why is the 911, the 997 not a great daily driver? Well, one, if you buy a manual transmission, which I have, which is a great transmission, which is great when you're in the twisties, which is great when you've got the open road in front of you, whether it be straight or twisty, whether you're on the freeway, it's a fantastic transmission. But if you're in traffic, it's not, okay? It's not. If you're stop-starting traffic and you've got to keep changing all the time, it gets very tiring very, very quickly. And I know I'm probably complaining because if you had a GT3, I know, and a GT3 RS, it would even be more difficult. But I kind of see the importance, or I guess, the decision that you could make to get a PDK transmission in a 911. I can understand that, especially in stop-start traffic and in heavy traffic, you know. So that's one reason why it's not a daily driver. The other thing that I noticed too is that fuel economy. I always understood that the 911 was going to drink more fuel than another car. I'm not sure exactly what it's drinking at the moment, but is that it uses quite a lot of fuel. I noticed that because I did a lot of these small trips, I was filling up the tank a lot more often. In fact, a lot more often than when I was really giving the car, you know, what it likes to do on the twisties. So fuel economy makes it another reason why it's probably not a great daily driver. I think probably the worst thing about it, and this is a pro and a con. The worst thing is that my car is on lowered springs, as a lot of you guys know. In general, the 911 is reasonably low at the front. the enormous speed bumps or speed control, I don't know what you call them in the US, but in Australia they're called speed humps, speed bumps. The speed bumps are annoying, and sometimes it's unsafe because I have to slow down. I actually have to slow down to speed humps because the front of my car does actually scrape quite a lot. So you're continually, especially in suburban areas in Sydney, built-up areas in Sydney, housing areas, there are a lot of speed bumps to control traffic. So you're continually slowing down all the time. Cars behind you get annoyed. They don't like you slowing down. They're thinking, why are you slowing down so much? Especially when they're in a four-wheel drive SUV. So it's dangerous. It's something you always have to be on the lookout. The speed bumps are really dangerous. The traffic islands are never marked in Sydney. They don't have proper paint markings on a lot of them. So, you know, you're always worried you're going to scrape your wheel. So another reason why the Porsche 911 really isn't a great daily driver. Maybe I should say in Sydney. The Porsche 911 isn't a great daily driver in Sydney. But in general, I don't think it is. I mean, it's not only speed humps. Sorry, I keep losing my... It's multi-story car parks. And, you know, we all have that fear of a multi-story car park. We always have the fear of parking in a multi-story or department store or grocery store car park. We're always worried about coming back in a trolley being, you know, halfway up our muffler, so to speak. So, you know, it's always a danger to park in multi-story car parks. In fact, I avoid them. I mean, there's one that I go to, which is a hardware store in Sydney, and that's probably the only one that I park in because I know it's low. I know that the slope is not very steep. I know the speed humps are okay, and there's not that many cars there. So I always park there. It's not a problem when I go to pick up something. But in general, I will not park in multi-story car parks. And I know that sounds a little bit fanatical to some people, but those of you who own a 911 will understand what I'm saying. There's so many horror stories of people coming back to their cars damaged from being in a Westfield car park here in Sydney or, you know, of the sorts. So the Porsche 997 isn't a great daily driver if you need to park in multi-story shopping center car parks. It really isn't, because the speed humps and the speed controls in there are huge. The parking spaces are small. The risk of damage from trolleys and prams and everything like that is high. And I know that's with any car that you have that you take care of, you'll be worried about it, but it's another reason why I don't think the 997 is a daily driver. It's not something you want to run to the shops quickly and pick up your milk and bread or your coffee, so to speak. And it's not only parking in multi-story car parks. Even when you park on the street, I know I've become a little bit obsessive with this. You become very cautious about where you park. Is there enough space between the car in front and the car behind? You know, I always try and park where there's no car in front or something like that. I always park away from the main spaces to another space on the street where it's not so busy. Like when I go to see my doctor in Sydney, you know, I don't park in the car park behind his building because I know it's just crazy with traffic, with cars and in and out all the time. So I park in the street, you know, adjacent, and it's quiet. It's not that far to walk. It's much more better. It makes me feel better. But you know, you have to think about these things. I guess when it comes down to it, it's not about, I mean, you could say the 997, the Porsche 997, or 911s in general, or sports cars in general. I guess it's worse if you have a Ferrari. If you had a 458 Ferrari Italia or a 488 GTB, you would probably be even more worried about scrapes and parking and the rest of it, you know. And I'm sure, you know, Ferraris can't sit in traffic for too long because they overheat, the earlier ones. So at least the Porsche is reliable. At least you know if you get stuck in traffic, your car's not going to blow up or break down. But it's just it's just not a convenient means for, I think if you live in a city, if you live in in Sydney, I live in the inner city of Sydney, so it's reasonably busy, I guess, not compared to other cities, but it's still busy. But if you live in the inner city and you have to travel out to other areas, I guess it's just not a great car for inner city living. And I don't think the 997 or Porsche 911 is a great daily driver. But it's not meant to be a daily driver. You know, don't get me wrong here, it's not meant to be. It's a sports car. It's meant to be on the open roads. It's meant to be on those twisty roads. It's meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be revved to the maximum. You know, it's meant to be... It's meant to give you a feeling that something else doesn't give. If it was a daily driver, it wouldn't be a Porsche. So, you know, it's not a daily driver, it's a Porsche. If you want a daily driver Porsche, you buy a Cayenne, you buy a Macan. You know what I mean? In fact, you buy a Panamera. A Panamera is beautiful, that new Panamera. But I don't know if there's any point to this video. I'm at the end of the video now, and I'm thinking I will upload it because I like to upload things that sometimes that are just off the cuff, that I'm not actually, I haven't planned it that much. I'm just talking to you guys, but I don't know, this could be a pretty silly video because it's a sports car. It's not a daily driver. But I guess it's to help those people who haven't bought a 997 yet, who come across the channel and think, oh, this guy's talking about Porsche 997s, he's talking about 911s. Should I get one as a daily driver? I had someone ask me from Asia if it was a good car for heavy stop-start traffic in Asia, and I said no, not if it's a manual. If it's a PDK, maybe. And then again, I'm not even sure if it's going to work. But anyway, the 911 fits a certain position in the market. We love it. I love driving it on the open road. I love my 997. You know, if I traded it in, as you guys know, I would like to get the GT3, the 997.2 GT3 or 0.1. 0.2 only because I want the better navigation system. But you know, the styling of the 0.2 is not always as good as the 0.1. But I love the car. It's a great car, and I think you know, I think Porsche these days with their new models, they think about it more. They think about the cars have become, I suppose, more new 911s, the standard ones. I suppose they become a little bit more generic. Is that the word for it? I'm not sure. And I guess they're meant for people that want to have it as a daily car. I like the idea that it's not a daily car. I like to have a Porsche not as a daily car. I'd like to have another car which was a daily car, and that would make sense. Anyway, just a quick video today. I just wanted to talk about why I didn't think Porsche 997 is a daily driver, which probably seems pretty obvious now, so excuse me if this video is a bit pointless. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, let me know in the comments. Like I've said before, every like counts on YouTube. Every like and every subscription actually, so if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe at the end or hit the subscribe button. And if you turn on notifications, you will be known, keep going out of focus, you will get a little reminder when I upload a new video, which actually helps. So you turn on notifications and you subscribe at the same time. Anyway, thanks for watching today. Farewell from London. I will post another video in the next couple of days. Maybe I'll relive I'm thinking about talking about why I bought the 997. Why the 997 is the best used 911. The best used 911. Why is that? Let's talk next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.